Whenever a mage, witch, or sorcerer in a fantasy show or movie waves their hand or lifts both arms to the sky, you instinctively know what will follow next. Either a gust of wind will blast in a certain direction, a bolt of lightning will strike something, or an object will be lifted up high in the air. You can guess what will happen not because you're a magician, but because you have seen the same gestures used in other fantasy movies or film. I choose to call these gestures magic gestures, which I would define as physical activity required for magic to manifest. Others define them as visual seals that represent a magic vow or utterance, such as Buddhist mantras. Hello friends. In this video, I will look at some unexplored African magical gestures that I think can make your African fantasy story or movie more interesting. To find these unique gestures, we will look at African dances, rituals, martial arts, and religions for inspiration. So far, the magical gestures the mainstream has to offer include:
He's getting scared.
As you have noticed, most of these gestures are more or less similar. But when you watch DR.STRANGE, you probably had no idea what was going to happen when the Ancient One, or bald Tilda Swinton, made those cool angled finger movements. It was new and interesting. Tilda Swinton's angled finger movements originated from tatting, a street dance style that went viral in the late 2000s and early 2010s. This dance style involves the breakdown of the hand to the wrist with intricate hand movements. As a matter of fact, the movie hired Jay Gutierrez, or Jay Funky, to teach DR.STRANGE actors how to finger tat. Here is Benedict Cumberbatch explaining finger tatting.
This fantastic guy called Jay Funk, who's a tutter. Now, tutting is this amazing, it's like a kind of break dance from the wrist up of fingers, intricate hand movements, and it is spellbinding. So
here is Jay Funky doing hand tatting. Even I tried to learn finger tatting from Peanut, the king of fingers, or John Hunt, who was also a famous finger tatting choreographer of the 2000s. You may be wondering where finger tatters got their inspiration. They were inspired by one of the ancient civilizations in Africa and the world. The term tatting actually refers to King Tutankhamun, or King Tut. Tatting is inspired by the poses seen on the reliefs on the walls of ancient Egyptian structures. Here are some Egyptian hand gestures that may have influenced tatting. Hand signs or gestures that appear on ancient Egyptian walls portray a variety of meanings. For example, the anointing gesture involves the king extending his right hand while folding his 3 middle fingers and extending his thumb and little finger. The left hand holds the anointing oil flask or bottle. He positions his little finger over the brow of the statue of a deity because that is the exact spot where he intends to anoint with oil. That means he will pour the oil on his little finger and the finger will guide the oil to the brow of the statue of the deity. This is my opinion. Ancient Egyptian kings anointed the statues of deities to revitalize the power of the statue or to encourage the spirit of the deity to inhabit the statue. After anointing the statue, it became a living, breathing entity. Another example is the Ka sign, which is represented by a pair of open arms raised upwards. As I understand it, the Ka sign represents the part or the aspect of men and gods that is connected to creative life force. A clenched fist put on the chest gesture shows that the king has a brave, powerful heart in taking his decisions and commands. There are several other symbols. In fact, I think I should revisit this in a separate video. What do you think? Besides ancient Egyptians, the Ashanti or Asante people of Ghana also use gestures for different purposes. For instance, they use gestures when greeting the king or the Asante Hene as he is seated on the throne. They also use gestures as a magical seal of protection for the king. Here is an example of Speed greeting the Asante Hene. Magical or spiritual gestures of protection are made by a young boy who sits with the king on a palanquin. The boy, whose title is Ohenokra, or the soul of the king, wears a hat made by a shaman or a priest. The hat is a protection charm made of eagle feathers, red cloth, and horns. During a procession, the boy dances while making certain powerful gestures. How would you use these gestures in your African fantasy story? If you're familiar with the last Avatar series, you know that the characters use Chinese martial arts as magical gestures. They use all of their body to cast magical spells. In the Harry Potter movies, magical jewels mirror fencing footwork. You can see this clearly in the wand salute done by Severus Snape and the swift lunges and wrist motions when they cast their spells. In your African fantasy story, you can use dance moves as inspiration for magical gestures. African dances are full of possibilities for magical gestures and magical postures. Here are some interesting ones. We will look closely at some of these dances today. Dances that emphasize leg movements such as that of the Guro people of Ivory Coast and the Xhosa people of South Africa are a great place to start. Looking specifically at the Guro dance called Zawuli, you can use the rapid leg movements for telekinesis or other forms of magic that moves objects. The Xhosa kicks that are often followed by powerful stomps can be used to shake the ground or as a way for a mage to quickly teleport. What do you think? You can use graceful dances such as the Umushayayo dance of the Tutsi of Rwanda or the Egungun dances of the Yoruba to conjure restorative or healing magic that requires long rituals. Umushayayo dance is performed by women. It is known for its slow tempo and controlled and rhythmic footwork. The dance mimics the graceful movement of the Ankole cattle. These movements or gestures are also great for appeasing deities or for spiritual cleansing ceremonies. What do you think? If you want to weave high magic or world-changing devastating spells, then the high-energy back dancing performed by the Senegalese wrestlers before a match or the dance performed by Zangbetos are the right choice. Here is an example of back dancing. Here is an example of Zangbeto dance. You can have your characters perform these magical gestures to conjure a wall of fire or a powerful storm. If you want to bless your characters, you can use the blessing gestures performed by the Maasai elders. If you want your character to bless multiple people, you can use a fly whisk. Then there are magical gestures that do not require a lot of movement, such as pointing with an outstretched arm while glaring at the object or person you are pointing at. It seems simple, but in the African context, this is one of the most feared magical gestures. In fact, magic conjured through a psychic stance where there is zero movement and all you need is to enter into a state of deep concentration while focusing on an object or person is very powerful magic. For example, the evil eye is a psychic stance. And there you have it. If you have other examples of magical gestures used in Africa, please comment in the comment section. Next time, we will look at geometric magic, where geometric symbols are used to cast spells. If you want to support my channel, you can tip me on Ko-fi or join my Patreon. Please subscribe, like, and leave a comment because it will help with the YouTube algorithm. Goodbye and good luck.